The ongoing pandemic and restrictions mean that most of the railway's 1,600 plus volunteers can't come to the SVR and do what they love. It really is mission critical work only at the moment. Now, one exception to that is the shunter diesel fleet, so let's go and meet one of the volunteers who's helping to maintain it.
Hi, my name's Don Shadwell and I'm a volunteer at the diesel depot. Initially when I come to the Severn Valley, I came as a volunteer for the 8F Society. I was very fortunate to become a fireman on the Severn Valley in 1970. The steam is obviously the real thing, I suppose you could say, because it's between you and the fireman to make that engine move. And on a diesel, you know, it's a lot more straightforward, shall we say. If you have to use a steam engine, we've got to light the fire. It takes several hours to get them into steam, where with the diesel, we can get on it, press a button, start it up, and within 5–10 minutes, we can use them. And when we finish with them, we just switch them off. At the moment, Dick Hardy is under our 12-monthly maintenance checks. We check all the brake system, all the rodding, the oil filters, the fuel filters we change, the air filters we change. The traction motors that's underneath, there's 2 on Dick Hardy, like all 08 shunters, so they have to be checked over. This has to be signed off by our resident diesel engineer. We must always have an 09 in working order at Kidderminster. Dick Hardy was a very famous railwayman and manager. He was an absolute top man. I've met him several times. In the mid-60s he became the manager in the Liverpool area. Well, I was at Warrington Shed back then, and so he was my gaffer. He's so well respected. Unfortunately, Dick passed away a couple of years ago now, but he's been to the railway a couple of times. Just after we completed the loco and put it back into service, he just happened to be doing a visit, so we had the pleasure of reintroducing him. We've kept his name on our locomotive. It's quite an honour to do that.
I'm Richard Williams. I'm the technical assistant in the diesel shed at Kidderminster. The job I'm on here, the wagons were built in the early 1980s and the doors that were fitted to the wagons have been out in the weather for roughly 35 years and have got to the point where they have literally rusted away. This makes the operation of the doors on the wagon, which is done manually, exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, because they seize up. The wagons are extensively used for in track relaying and ballast dropping. It carries roughly 40 tons of stone, which is then dropped on the ground for the track to be laid on. And that is done via these underside doors that I'm working on. Each door has got a pair of these pivot plates on, which are steel castings, which I'm having to recover. This part, this is the door itself. This is all inverted. This is the top of the door. This is the underside. And you can see here the amount of wastage that's gone on with the metalwork, considering that this old metalwork should look like that, right? So this is what 35 years of out in the weather use has done. The rusting in the doors causes the edges here, you can see here, causes the metal to expand, and these doors are quite a close fit in the wagon, and when the door opens, it opens on an arc on these pivots, and the staff have told me that they get to the point where the doors jam because the doors are all out of shape and distorted because of the abuse they've had over the years. This particular wagon that's in the shed, I've been working on roughly 6 weeks now. These are the worst ones that I've seen so far, and I'm having to literally remanufacture 4 of the outer doors.
Most of the volunteers are not allowed in at the moment because of this pandemic. It's critical that our shunting locos are looked after and kept in working order. They're probably in use more than any of the other engines, so a small group of us are allowed to work looking after the 08 shunters. They're very valuable items of rolling stock for us.
So not everything can go ahead. One of the casualties of the pandemic is the Class 11 behind me. Its overhaul had started, but it had to stop pretty quickly when COVID struck. The team will get back onto it eventually. Better times will come. In the meantime, stay safe.